Following the recent surge of the AERO token of Aerodrome Finance, I read a lot of threads on Twitter, I read lots of comments on Telegram, as well as watched some of the YouTube videos that spoke about the recent rise and the comparisons that they made and the reasoning why this has happened. And I saw lots of misconceptions and lots of things that for me were not true, simply were not true. So I think it's very important to clarify these misconceptions and understand why the price is behaving as it is currently behaving, right? So the price went down from a height of 62 cents all the way down to 35 cents right now. If you go look at the chart, you can see that price action hasn't been favorable ever since the Coinbase listing. Sorry to interrupt you there, folks. I just want to quickly chime in and mention that we are currently working on a project called Numerical. It's DeFi as a service, meaning you'll get exposed to real DeFi protocols that generate real revenue, aka real yield, and you're gonna get a cut of this without doing the setup yourself. All you have to do is enter, claim, or withdraw. Very simple. So your capital is available at all times to take, and you can choose the option where to invest. More details in the description and in our community chat. So in order to understand why this has happened, we need to, look at the DEX itself and the metrics of the DEX. So first things first, I just want to say that you cannot compare AERO as a token to, for example, the likes of Uni, from the token of Uniswap. One important differentiation here is that Uni isn't emitted. Uni has a total supply. Uni is only used for governance, and they will pass a proposal to use it to earn a portion of the revenues that Uniswap generates. Whereas AERO is emitted by LPs, AERO can be vested, and AERO doesn't have a total supply. So overall, the supply side of things is favorable for Uniswap and not so favorable for Aerodrome. But if you understand the flywheel and the mechanics of the DEX, then things become a bit more clearer. So looking at the supply side, you can scroll down to the documentation and you can open the page where it will show you the emissions and the tokenomics. So we're not gonna dive deep into the distribution here. All we need to understand is that overall the supply started at 500 mil. Most of it, so 450 of it, was locked initially, given to partners and VVelo holders. And there is currently an emission rate of 10 million AERO tokens per week. However, this is subject to change after a certain epoch. Remember, each epoch is a week, and during a specific epoch, AERO holders tend to vote on each of the LPs that they want, and in doing so, they earn a portion of the fees and the bribes. And to my point, if you come here and go to vote, and you look at the LPs where AERO holders can vote on, you see the APR, the annualized returns that you would expect if you were to vote on a specific LP. So for example, here you see that if you vote on the first one, your annualized return on your holdings is 68.84%. Here, for example, is almost 300%, but not to be confused. You're not gonna get that in one epoch. So if you vote today, after a week, you won't get 300% on your money, but that's annualized. Meaning if you were to vote every week for the specific pair that would be offering the same amount of bribes and the ratio of holders to bribes would be similar, then you would get to 300%, which is highly unlikely. So just understand where you're at. But of course, the higher that number is, the more you're gonna get eventually from your AERO holdings. Basically your locked tokens and vested tokens. So from the supply side of things, like I said, supply is expanding at the rate of 10 million per week. Now, there are mechanics to, curb that inflation at some point. For example, at epoch 67 right now, if you go to June, you will see that we are at 27. At epoch 67, that 10 million will start decreasing, and then the AERO holders will actually make a choice of how much the decrease will be. Either they keep it the same, they can decrease the supply, so on and so forth. To my personal knowledge, there isn't a burn mechanism here, but in order to understand that, that growing supply needs to be met with also a growing demand overall to offset, price depreciation. And on the demand side of things, we can clearly see, if we look at DeFi Llama, that overall basis TVL is increasing, so is Aerodrome's. Volume, TVL are increasing. The more you have volume, the more you have fees. The more you have fees and bribes, the more you have projects that are gonna come in on the platform to list their assets and their tokens, give money to VIRO holders. The more that VAPR will increase, the more people are incentivized to lock their tokens and not sell them on DLP. So overall, as long as this is working, as long as the whole flywheel is working of value capture, meaning the AERO token will still have demand regardless of its supply expansion, because at some point inflation will come to a certain level, right? So it won't, usually in the lifespan of a protocol, inflation at the beginning is higher because they want people to, come in and they want to incentivize your users. But at some point, as long as they are building, as long as the protocol is maturing, they will reach a certain equilibrium in regards to supply and demand, whereas price meets both. All right, so we don't know where that price will end up in a year and 2 years from now, but understand that Aerodrome is very different from the likes of Uniswap. It's potentially the first token in the V33 niche that gets listed on a big exchange. As far as I know, there aren't any other token that belongs to that niche that is on a big exchange. AERO is the first of its kind, so meaning it gave exposure to that whole niche to new people that don't know much about the tokenomics and the mechanics of the platform, that are confused as why the price went down. And here is the very simple explanation, right? So it's a different type of DEX. You should understand how it works and how AERO is emitted. It's giving to LPs. I mean, if you look right now at the LPs, you can clearly see that there are very high APRs even for delta neutral LPs like USD Plus. You have dollar USDC. Look at those big APRs, right? So lots of AERO is given to these guys, and most of it right now, because the price rose by 20x from the bottom, are being sold. That's completely normal. So at some point it won't be, as lucrative to sell those AERO tokens, but perhaps they will see that the VAPR outshines that selling pressure. Then the price will reach a certain point where it will benefit both sellers and lockers. All right, so like I said, it is at a standstill in regards to supply and demand, and understanding how these two mechanics work basically puts you in a position where you know what you're investing in. I mean, quickly looking at X's Aerodrome account, you can really see that they are growing in terms of all the metrics that are related to a DEX. So you can rest assured that they are building, they have Coinbase support, they have a Coinbase ecosystem fund support as well, and they are backed by big people, and lots of projects want to be listed on them. So I think overall, the token itself, or the price performance of the token itself, isn't something that you should worry a lot about in the short term, all right? But understanding what this implies overall and in the long term is something that you should, be aware of. And hopefully this helped you understand why the price went down and why the supply is going up and what's going on in the background. We do have a Telegram community chat. If you want to join us, link will be below. It's a very cool room, lots of DeFi and crypto exposure, lots of interesting people and knowledgeable few individuals. I would suggest you to join us, you won't regret it. With that, see you in the next one. Have a good one.